You are listening to the Practicing People's Podcast. I'm CJ Hammond.
And I'm Jordan White. Together, we'll be taking a journey into the practices that help us align with our mind, body, and soul.
So take a deep breath, release, and remain curious as we explore new ways to enhance our lives. Welcome to another episode of the Practicing People's Podcast. No episode is more special than another, but this episode is very meaningful to me and Jordan, as we are having our producer, Andrew Pike, on today. So as we go into this, let me give you a little bit of bio about Andrew. Andrew Pike is a music producer, audio engineer, a video editor based in Denver for over 15 years. He was a key part of the team at Sounds True, producing podcasts, original music, and video content with some of the world's leading voices in mindfulness, meditation, and spiritual wisdom. Andrew's also toured nationally, opened for major label acts, and composed music that's been featured in TV shows, ads, and film. His real specialty is helping creators and teachers bring transformational content to life, whether that's through a guided meditation, a podcast series, or a full-blown soundscape. From self-help to sound design, Andrew knows how to turn deep ideas into powerful, polished experiences. Thank you, sir. Welcome to the show, Andrew.
Yeah, it's a talented man you are, man. And we see you kind of in your studio there. I've been there a few times and watch you work, and it's special, and you're gifted, dude. So thank you for joining us on the show. And as we kind of get grounded in our conversation, all those beautiful things, all those talented gifts that you kind of share with the world. Tell us a little bit about Andrew beyond the surface level. Like, who's that guy? I know you're a dad, you're, a huge family man. What else is important to you?
Yeah. This will take some adjusting being on the camera instead of I turn my camera off and I'm taking notes. And so this is kind of a trip to be on camera right now. I appreciate the intro and those kind words. Yeah. I, like you said, I'm a father. I have a newborn. She's 10 months old. I have a 5-year-old. Husband. I've been married for, what did we just celebrate, 11 years together. I think I'm native-ish to Denver. I've been here for, almost 20 years, I think. Getting pretty close to that. From Michigan originally, came out here for college. Met you through my wife and our wives working together. And then you connected me with CJ and been able to do this podcast work together. I we'll probably talk about golf in a little bit. I love talking about that. I love golf and sports and things like that. But yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell outside of the music and all the production work.
That's awesome. I one of the things that I found to be one of the coolest introductions to you was that Sounds True was as a producer on that. I found it so cool that I was already listening to that prior to knowing you, and then for me it was a jaw-dropping moment to know that you got to live in the space with Michael Singer, who I consider to be one of the world's greatest teachers in mindfulness and expansion of the mind and thoughts. And I wanted to get a little bit of insight as we start to dig into your life, about your experience as a producer on that and sort of the insights you started to gather and gain in your experience doing that.
Yeah, that's been actually really cool to meet people in, I produce a lot of hip hop, to meet artists in this world that I wouldn't think are really into that, and to see them talk about it or see them post like an Eckhart Tolle, or, yeah, you mentioned Michael Singer. I think in one of our first meetings of the men's group, somebody mentioned Michael Singer. I was like, oh yeah, by the way, I made that podcast. I just finished editing that one. Yeah, I'm familiar with that. So that's been really cool to see, because I think when I kind of started, it was really a change, because I went to school for music and engineering, really into hip hop and music, and to get this, I actually started there as an intern in college, and to see that world, and it kind of opened me up not only to different ways to use my creative talents. I didn't really think about audiobooks and podcasts and stuff, but just to be immersed in that world that when I started, I really didn't know much about. I didn't really have, I didn't have a meditation practice. Had a brief understanding of Buddhism and yoga and mindfulness and things like that. But really to be immersed in that stuff, and then to connect with not only my coworkers, that a lot of those coworkers really embodied a lot of that stuff and brought it into their work, but to work with some of those authors that my friends are just like, yo, have you heard this or so, like meeting Eckhart and working with him on several occasions, and recording some of these really big name meditation teachers, like one-on-one, like miking them up and recording them in the studio and teaching them, doing breath work. Like they have their own breath work, but before I record audiobooks, I do like breathing exercises and vocal warm-ups, and I'd make these people meow like cats and like shake their jowls out and do all this stuff. And yeah, it's been really cool to just connect with people like that on a really personal level. And then um, as I really dived into that world and edited the audiobooks, because that could be like a months long project. That could be like 12 CDs. Recording sometimes took a week. Like it would be like 9 to 5 for like 5 days. There were some late nights in there. Yeah, it's a lot of spiritual wisdom you kind of absorb. And I will say, with audiobooks, like editing some of the stuff, I'm listening for all sorts of clicks and pops and not actually the content. So it was interesting. But I always tried to find something of interest in every audiobook that I took, some little nugget that I could, even if it was maybe a little out there, because some of that is kind of out there. But trying to take something from every one of those books, and learn and see how it can uh, improve my life. If there's like a little nugget that I can use, a little quote or something like that, has been, that's been really a blessing over the past 15 years of working there. Yeah, and that's totally what I was thinking. Like, oh, I want to record with Jay-Z and produce this and produce that, and that's like what I went to school to really. That's what I want to do, and it just kind of, this internship kind of came up, and I knew it was like in a studio, it was hands-on miking and doing real audio work. And just so happens that it was a 9 to 5 with benefits and all the cool stuff that maybe I wouldn't have gotten in a recording studio, or kind of really sweating it out, running a board at a venue till 2-3 a.m. So that really shifted what I was going after in terms of the work that I was doing. And I think that really shaped over time what I want to bring to clients, like how I want to uh, help them tell their story. Because I think with the meditation teachers, obviously, it's very important, um, meaningful, useful content. And that really, I think, has shaped the way I make music too. Instead of just like, oh, that's a cool song, let's put it out. Like, what does this mean? What's the story behind the song? I think, I still make really fun dance records and things like that. But when I'm working with artists, if it's on that side, it's like, what does this mean to you? Like, tell me your story. Like, how can we take that and put that in the music so that we're still helping people, we're still providing value. Cause I'm so used to like, man, that was a heavy audiobook for this very specific, you know, uh, ailment, or how you deal with certain diseases and how you help people save money, and yoga and meditation. Like, that stuff got pretty heavy at times. So, being able to kind of take that, uh, how do we tell a story? How do we make this really important to people? And then spreading that across all the other endeavors that I do is really cool.
That's dope.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I mean, I'm hearing in that just the wide range, man, like of just audio, um, yeah, I guess that you've touched, right? And from anything from, uh, slower meditation music to, obviously, right, like putting out bangers, like you've kind of done it all. So, and something to kind of circle back, I mean, all, over there at Soundstrue, of course, is focused on, the spiritual growth, and, that's kind of um the ethos of that organization. And of course, as we talk about self-leadership a lot, us in the Men of Value group and our guys group, we talk about kind of our spiritual growth as well. So I'm curious, for you at this point in your life, how's your self-leadership journey kind of unfolding, either as like a father, a husband, a person in society? Like, what's next for you? How has self-leadership, kind of either helped you get to this point, and how's it going to support you, how you move forward?
Yeah. So I was looking back at some photos. I think we started this maybe like 2 years ago. The journey of going through the training and then starting our group. And I was actually talking to another artist who's gone through some, tough personal losses and things like that. And I've had, I just got laid off like 2 weeks ago. So I'm going through this huge transitional phase in my life. And I'd mentioned to him, like, if we weren't doing this work, I think this would have been, so much harder to deal with. So I think having those 2 years of us getting together, weekly to once a month, and taking those courses has been really, really helpful to, um, yeah, be present, be mindful. Audiobooks and courses are great, but doing the one-on-one work, I think, is really important. Um, I think maybe that's just kind of how I learn. You can read some stuff, you can watch some videos, but once you get in and actually do the work and do the practice, then it becomes so much more real. So having these calls and these chats with you guys has been so much more beneficial than, hey, finish this module and fill out this form, which have been helpful. But yeah, getting it into practice and doing it. Because I got, we have the central question and some of the other questions. I have those pinned right here. They've been here for a year. And so that's been really great to reference and, just try and bring into everyday life. Because yeah, like you said, there's so many opportunities with a 5-year-old and a 10 a 10-month-old to create net value and be who am I thinking and acting, does that um, support who I truly aspire to be as a, an business owner and a father and a husband. And
Yeah. Yeah. And, even so, the definition of good, which we've talked about a few times on the show as well, like, something is good to the degree that it has all the attributes required to fulfill its purpose. And I think I heard that even as you were talking about the projects you're embarking on, and like, what's the purpose of this song, and what's the purpose of this, project, and is it going to actually create goodness in the world and value and all of that. So it's cool to hear, you really embrace this the way that you have, and it's been Hopefully CJ agrees, man. It's been beautiful to watch, some of the transformation, as a husband and as a dad, and of course how you're handling, the unexpected news of or the unplanned news maybe of being laid off. So much love to you, man.
And I feel like it's really cool for me, sort of as I don't mean this, I'm not an outsider, but your relationship and my relationship came to you through Jordan, because Jordan knew you, and then we got introduced, and so it was sort of this work level friendship that we had, and then Jordan invited us into the men's group, which added a whole new dimension and layer, and getting to see you open up, be vulnerable. And what I've, attached that to quite often these days is being authentic. I think that um, that men's group really changed my perception of you. And it was never anything other than, it's always been, this is who Andrew is, but the layers of depth that have been added to that. And one thing that I acknowledge, and it also probably, I don't know if you notice this in your career and perhaps how it plays into your life, is that a lot of your life is listening. I don't know if you've ever like thought on that piece, but a lot of it, what you do is listening. And I'm curious if that practice, as this is the Practicing People's podcast, if that awareness of how much you are a listener comes into your everyday, whether it be on the job or as a father or as a husband. Are you aware of that tactical ability that you do have?
Uh, yeah, I mean, in a very literal sense, as an audio engineer, like you said, I mentioned sometimes we're recording for 5 days and then it's a month of listening, listening, listening. I will say, I do notice that this week, there are lots of last meetings at my company and people talking, and I do listen. I think I do. When I'm trying to think of something to say, I get very quiet. So I do. I think I am listening, but I think that has the effect of like, oh, he's really intent, and it's just like, really taking it all in and kind of finding the right words and the right time to break in. I will say, the men's group has really helped me a lot with that. I think going in, um, I was pretty nervous, to open up and share, and it was a lot of taking it in, but seeing you and Greg and then Chris when he joined being so open and sharing like so much, just so naturally, being in that group, listening first and hearing people do all that stuff and be, like you said, very authentic, and share, really helps your, if you're nervous to do it, like I definitely was going into it. I think, I found, Jordan hit me up at the right time. It was just like the universe. It was a tough time when you reached out to me, and I, really needed it. And I think that has, over the 2 years, really loosened me up a lot, to be able to speak about certain things, to be able to be more mindful of my, how I'm feeling and how I'm reacting to the world around me. And yeah, like I mentioned in the last question, it's just like I don't know if I'd have handled certain things in the last couple of years. That's happened to me several times. Like, oh man, Andrew of 5 years ago would have had a really, really hard time with what just happened. But now it's just like, I mean, it's still, obviously things still suck at times, but you're just like, it is what it is. We're in the present. I can't worry about a couple years down the road. That happened. All right, let's figure out how we deal with this, as emotionally, maturely as possible.
What is that? What's that quote? Smooth seas never made a skilled sailor. and that's how you become better. And that's what I'll say this from the view from afar, getting to know you from our first men's meeting. And for those that aren't aware, obviously we spoke a little bit about this, but Jordan invited four men, including himself, into a group that now meets monthly. It was, at the time, it was every 2 weeks. Scheduling has come into play, and but where every month we take time and set it aside where we meet with each other. But seeing your growth as just a human from then to now is amazing. And again, it's crazy. Is it really 10 months since the birth? Has it already been 10
Yeah,
months?
yeah, yeah. September.
It's
Wow.
crazy.
And that's how crazy time flies. So
I know.
Yeah. Well, to kind of circle back to, like Andrew 5 years ago, the new Happy Gilmore just recently came out. I haven't seen it yet. But when you said that, Pike, it reminded me of like when he in the first Happy Gilmore where he misses a putt and goes to grab like throw the pin, but then he stops and then he takes everyone like off guard, right? Like that's kind of the mentality. It sounds like you kind of shifted to. It's like, oh wait, is this a new Happy? Is this a new Andrew? Right. So just to support everything you're saying, man, for you to notice that growth in yourself and to really be applying it, because that's the second part and usually the most difficult part. It's one to recognize it and understand it, and it's a whole other to embody it and start displaying it. So kudos again, man. And I mean, speaking of the metaphor, like how long, we talked about it earlier, we talked about playing golf and how that's kind of a big part of your life. How long have you been playing? Who introduced the game to you? Tell us a little bit about your golf life.
Yeah, funny you mentioned that because that has been a change. I've actually talked about this in the men's group that uh, I used to throw some clubs here and there and get pretty frustrated. But even that, over the last couple of years, I have used. I don't know how many times I've used that golf metaphor in our groups when it applies about you know taking one shot at a time and really doing overviews of the course, playing the hole backwards, and there are just like so many metaphors. And we've golfed together. We're just talking CJ and I before because sounds like he's got the bug now.
it got big.
So
Yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah, I've been playing pretty much since I could walk. I think. My dad is still an amazing golfer. So he taught me how to play. That is one of my favorite things, playing golf with him. I do it every chance I get when he comes out here, when I go to Michigan, and we still play in tournaments together and do golf trips and stuff like that. And then, yeah, now I'm trying to teach my son here and there. I don't want to push him. I want to let him come to me. I don't want to burn him out quickly. But I know it's, even if he doesn't get into it, CJ, you're just getting into it now. Like there's plenty of time to really dive into it.
Well, I mean, and, so prior, like Andrew was saying, prior to hopping on here, me and Andrew had a brief moment as I was explaining to him my new addiction to golf. But if you could, I guess, are there any things that you have learned from golf in terms of the life lessons? I know we talked about how you bring some of it to our men's group, certainly, but what are those, I guess, some of those steadfast things that you feel like life is very much applicable? I mean, well, golf is applicable to the game of life as well.
Yeah. So I wrote down two quotes because I wanted to get them right. Because I don't know if I've used these in the group, but they're perfect for right now. And what actually I think they're both by Bobby Jones. So one is a golf as a game played on a 5-inch course, the distance between your ears. So that's just all about that. It's so mental. There's a lot of physical stuff, but um, the mental side is so important. Just the one shot at a time, letting things go, controlling only what you can control, like in this moment, taking what the course gives you, what the weather gives you any given day, and really doing your best, like within yourself, and not really letting outside factors um, cloud how you're feeling and how you're approaching and changing, the direction that you're going. And the other quote is, golf is the closest game to the game we call life. You get bad breaks from good shots, and you get good breaks from bad shots, but we have to play the ball where it lies.
Mm, mm.
Love that. Yeah, man. I wow, on that first quote, and just as you were kind of expanding on that, I mean, it's funny how on the golf course, we can embrace that mentality, but other places in life, like with work and in relationships and all of that, like we tend to want to force the weather to be better, right? But when we get on the golf course, we start to embrace it and like work with it, is what I was kind of hearing you say. So it's just kind of interesting how, depending on what we're doing, right, and what we've kind of trained our mind to prepare for, um, it can. You would think it would cross over pretty naturally, but it doesn't. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. And while you were saying that, I was thinking of um, just how excited and happy you are to be out there and just like out in nature, and how calming that is. And I do think that does help your mindset. Like, oh sweet, we're out here. Nothing can be bad, now. But taking that same mentality to this, in my basement, and just like trying to have that same mentality of, man, it's great to be here, and it's great to be working, and it's great to do this and that. Changing that mentality. Yeah, it is really tough. There are certain things that I could say to myself on a golf course about one shot at a time, and, hey, just let it go, forget about it, it's okay, and certain things, and trying to get better about, you know, radical self-compassion. I mentioned that, just like, "You got this, man, you can do it." Like, how much more your game can improve, your mental health can improve, instead of, "Man, you idiot, like, why would you do that?" I mean, I still say that from time to time, but I would yeah, it's a lot less than just, like, hear about, you know, "Oh, I shouldn't have gone for that fast food. Why did you do that? Oh, I shouldn't be watching Netflix right now. I have, this and that I really need to get to the basement to do," and you're just, hating on yourself, and, not just enjoying where you are, and trying to stay present, and trying to, um just go forward with what you have at the time.
Two things I picked up in what you just said. One is that the situation is dependent upon the environment in which we're deciding to show ourselves that compassion. And one is very simple to understand because you're childlike, right? You're getting to do that versus that, atmosphere of coming back home and perhaps 10-month-year-old's crying, 5-year-old needs dad. One of those things. The environment has changed, but again, we could look at the same tactical situations of weather and standpoint. And again, with that being said, because fatherhood and being a husband, those are what I most liken to where I discovered my troubles with golf, in that it is a marathon. If you're going to go for 18 holes, you're going to be out there all day. I'm used to going 9, and I was like, oh, this is cool, man. That back 9 I decided to do the first time I got to do 18, I was like, you mean I got to bring this all to the other side? And can you talk to me a little bit about that marathon mindset of knowing that if we use the same analogy that you've got 18 to play today, I didn't sign up for 9 as a father. I didn't sign up for 9 as a husband. I signed up for 18. I'm here to play the full day and as many times as I can. Can you talk to me a little bit about your approach as it lies analogous to those two things?
Yeah, I think there's another quote kind of about like the minutes in the day or the seconds in the day, and if it was in your bank account, like would you stress about losing this much money, or would you be like, all right, I have this much, I can still, accomplish these things. If I lose a couple hours of a day to being, really frustrated, how can I make this up? If you have one bad hole, yeah, you still got 17 more to get it back. It's always the next shot. It's always the next shot. I think, yeah, there's something really important in sticking with it. Not walking off the course. Um, I think you can always there's always something to learn. It's kind of what I, mentioned about the audiobooks. Like sometimes it might be like, I'm not really in love with this author or this topic, but you know, I got 12 more CDs to edit. Like, what can I find and learn? What nugget can I get to take home to make this a positive experience? And I've actually I try and talk to my son about that a lot. It's some of these things are easier said than done, and I want to lead by example. But I have spoken to him about that. Hey, how was your day at school? Like, oh, it sucked. Like, why did it suck? Well, something happened on the playground 4 hours ago. And it's like, what do you mean? Or, hey, we went to the pool and then we went to this bounce house and whatever. Today sucked because I didn't get to watch my TV. And you're like, when you see a little kid say that, it is so obvious to you, like that's a terrible, that's not the right attitude to have. But it's so interesting. uh am I actually doing that? And you think back, you're like, actually, I do that a lot. But to hear it expressed so simply, and you're just like, no, that doesn't make any sense. And I'm sure I did that as a kid on the golf course when I was learning, like hit a bad shot, and then you're just like, I don't want to play anymore. I'm gonna sit in the cart. And I do remember doing that as a kid. I even remember doing that, a couple years ago, where um, you'd have a bad hole and you just get angry and throw your ball or do something like this. And it wasn't until, like a year or two later, it was like, well, why am I getting angry and throwing my clubs here and doing this when I'd be like, man, that was a bummer that I missed that putt. All right, let's take the ball. Let's go over here and let's figure it out. Let's practice a little bit before I go to the next hole. Let's see what I can learn about this scenario instead of just, you know, throw your hands up. Oh, this is terrible. I hate this. I, that's a really good question. It's bringing up a lot of memories of doing that, and then now looking at my game and how I play, like making that one change, um very specifically, just like, I'm so angry, you throw your club, man, I ruined this round, I ruined this, as opposed to, shoot, I missed that putt, or man, that was a bad chip. All right, let's finish out the hole while everybody else is putting. Let's go back here and what did I do wrong? Can I practice? Can I do this? What did I learn from missing that putt? Did I hit the putt? Did I have a bad read? What can I do? Because if I take the, 30 seconds, 1 minute to figure out what did I do wrong here, how that's going to help me on the next hole. Um, as opposed to just getting mad and then learning nothing, you're not going to, automatically fix it. It's taking that time to really reflect, learn, see how we can apply that going forward. Because, with minutes in a day, we still have the rest of the day to make a positive change, to do X, Y, and Z. Like, oh, that was frustrating, but why don't we take a break? And there's all these other things on my honey-do list, well, I'm going to take a break from this because this is really frustrating, but I'm going to go knock out this laundry or go vacuum or do something. And I actually talked about that early on, and with the central question of, man, I'm really frustrated, but you know what? That stack of dishes that has been eyeing me for so long, relax, turn my attention to something else that I know can make a positive impact, and just like, let's just tackle that because there's still so much time left in the day, left to do around the house. Like, what else can we do that has a positive impact now that we can tackle, even though these other things are just frustrating. Sometimes you just need a timeout and move away from that.
It seems to me you're talking about two types of anger here, and maybe like Jordan can kind of put his spin on it too. But it's like there's anger is an emotion, so there's nothing wrong or right with it necessarily. But the way of handling that, especially when you see what happens on the golf course, there's the reactionary, which perhaps is Andrew throwing the club, throwing the ball, a curse word or two, and the responsive. And we can deduce that the responsive action can lead to beget a change versus the reactionary is a feel good at the moment. And then you're like, well, I'm still angry. That felt good, but there was no lesson that came from it. So it seems to be, Jay, that like things that we've learned, it's through responsive and being responsible for what we're doing, that how we get that. And that's something that we've learned in men's group that adds value.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a practice, kind of like Andrew said, and what we've all in the group, like our North Star, right? Like that central question can even be used on the golf course. Like I've worked with other clients who golf as well, and you know, it's value can be discovered if we're looking for it, right? So what can we learn in this moment? Even if it is a little argument with little man or, our wife or your fiance, CJ, like what, okay, something's happening here. What can we learn? How can we, grow from this and do better next time? So it's like, it's cool how this metaphor is like completely expanded into life. And I agree with you, Andrew. It is like, it's such a conscious game, right? And, cause I grew up playing basketball, and before you know it, like a crossover feels, you don't even have to think twice about it, right? But golf, you gotta be locked in pretty much that whole time, and one little centimeter could, send things awry. So it's such a powerful game, and that's why I've really grown to love it and you know respond to it, CJ, like you kind of talked about there. So, but yeah, we talked a little bit about men's group. And Andrew, I really appreciate you being honest, man, about how that took some time for you to like kind of warm up to the idea and like, be in that space together. And you and I, kind of connect on the introversion thing. And I think we both agree, like we're listeners first, and nothing wrong with that, right? But you've just contributed so many valuable. Your voice is valuable in that space. So I'm wondering if there's another guy out there who's listening to this. Like, what would you encourage him to consider? Regarding either becoming, a man of value or finding some type of community.
Yeah, I think I think nowadays, especially, we've talked about kind of the manosphere and things like that, like the amount of information that's out there that you can digest, whether it's good or bad. And if you kind of retreat into yourself, like how your feelings can really manifest, how you can um story tell your future, like, oh, they don't like me, or this my wife's mad at me, or this is going on, or this is going on. And I think, especially with online um communities, you can really retreat into yourself. And it's so important to connect and um put certain thoughts and feelings, like, out, just saying them out loud. Like, I know, journaling is a really important thing. That's a really good therapeutic practice, like putting things out into the world and not really retreating in yourself can just help your mental health. And it can kind of, I think it is really important to find like-minded people, and even not like-minded people, but have those discussions and help that shape kind of your views, open up to new views and hear people talk about different things. And then, like with us, hearing certain people and how they, have totally different relationships, maybe with their parents or their spouses, and how they navigate certain things and how they have these conversations, and listening to them go, oh man, that was really impressive. That was really powerful. That took a lot of strength. Just hearing those stories and, connecting them face to face or virtually face to face like this, I think is really, really powerful, because I think that can really break the cycle of, um, yeah, self self hatred, maybe self, just really collapsing in on yourself, and building these stories in your head. um you The insult is kind of like, you got to go outside and touch grass. Like, you really have to do that work and meet people and get out and actually use your physical voice and have these conversations. It's just so therapeutic. I like I said, yeah, it was tough getting to open up and doing some of these calls. Is like, oh yeah, I got that call tonight. And then you'd feel so much better. Like, I know, CJ said that before. Like, sometimes we come in like, hey man, I'm really sorry. Like, I really got to get this work done. I really got to do this project. And CJ, I know you're guilty of it a lot. Hey, I got like 15 minutes. And then next thing you know is 40 minutes later. And you're like, all right, now I really got to leave. That was so much better than I thought it was going to be. Like, I just really want to check in, but I really got this thing to do. And then you just get so involved in the community and wanting to support your friends and learn, and yeah, take that little nugget that can help you. Somebody's talking about their relationship with your parents and this and that and work, and you're like, oh, that's a really good idea. I can't wait to, when I take Carter to school in the morning, maybe see how we can work that into our conversation. And I do think that's really important. I know we've talked about that a lot, Jordan, and we're really working on the video and kind of framing it as anti, um, that whole be this, don't cry, do this. Like, being really emotional is so much better for you um, than the stuff. I think the man of value is really important. I was thinking about this today. I think it's really interesting that the man of value, they're wanting to say, oh, we're men of value. Men of value do, they're tough and they hate this and they don't like that, and they, work so hard, and we're really wanting to reshape that into, no, they're compassionate, they listen, they care, they want to help, they want to do this. It's not, you think, oh, he's tough and, whatever, and just really reshaping what that looks like and the positive impact, the much more positive impact you can have on your community and your life by having that compassion and certain things, instead of really, locking in and being angry and that.
Man, Andrew, a lot of what you were saying, I've been seeing life a lot lately through the lens of energy, and much of what you talked about in that manosphere kind of world, the energy. If you're not paying attention to it closely and actually giving it maybe a cause for concern, it's a lot of negative energy, and by that I mean, like, it's self-defeating for the purpose of trying to motivate you. And what you spoke to, and the reason why I found it so hard, I'd come in there to make sure that the guys knew that I was there for them and I wanted to be there. I just had other prior engagements, and I'd get in the group and the energy caught me, and it was so infectious and I couldn't stop, and it was buzzing, and like it is now, and I get to hear people's stories and their experiences, and I get to express myself, and a value sphere atmosphere the energy is so uplifting because you're for the four. I want Andrew to succeed. I want Jordan to succeed. I don't care if it's on your golf game or as a father or as a husband. I want the best for you. But it's once you catch that bug, not the golf bug, once you catch that bug of finding value with your, like, again, and I say this to you guys and with love for all the sexes, but for my boys, when you find a circle like that of boys where your energy is all for the four, there's some razzing, I guess, but it's like far more positive, because when you start razzing, you can start like picking on people, and the energy has always been so high in our circle, and I commend you both for always bringing that. I don't know if I've ever had a circle where we've entered where we were like teasing someone to the point where it became negative. And I think every man listening to this knows what those circles look like. And we've all lived through them, and you're going to be okay. But there's also another lens where you can go into a circle of dudes and just keep everything so energetically positive and light and for the more of something. And that's what happens in these groups that you're speaking about. You step in for a minute and you're like, there's an hour. Like, that's what happens. And kudos, like I said, Jordan, thank you for bringing the group together. But I don't, Andrew's maybe missed 2 or 3 in this whole time. I've missed a few, but like, we show up, man. Kudos to both you guys.
Yeah, and it's being real. I think, there is some of that with some of your friends, and yeah, joking around and this and that. But there's some friends that I have that you could hang out for an hour and never get below, surface. Hey, let's quote Happy Gilmore and Anchorman and talk about football, like Lions and Michigan and football and this and that and golf, and then all right, see ya. And then I guilty of that. And sometimes that's great for what it is. We've actually talked about this in our group with some of our friends, and that's great for what that is. And then we sometimes we just like, man, it'd be really nice to have a deeper conversation. And I have something I'm dealing with. I'd love to be able to talk to somebody who maybe another father who understands, and another artist like you who understands the struggle and the stresses of that, and talk about that on a deeper level. And this gives us a really great opportunity because, everybody's there for that reason. I think you can do that with your friends, but maybe you are apprehensive about, what if I try and take this a little deeper, and it turns them off, and we ruin our friendship and whatever. Or you're just like, I know that guy doesn't want to hear it, or he's gonna go, oh yeah, that sucks, you want another beer? And just like, boom, that's the end of the conversation. So going into these conversations knowing they're there for they're there to listen. We all get a chance to check in, and what are we going to talk about? And then there's always, Jordan is really great about, here's a topic, or here's what I'm working on for some of my clients. Let's talk about, you know, this this graphic or this thing, and how does this apply? How does this feel to you guys? And that you're getting in this group for that specific purpose. It is very much like therapy, um and just like that community that I don't think, unless you go out of your way, unless you're, super grounded and all your friends talk super deep all the time, that's amazing. But I do think a lot of guys don't have that outlet, outside of maybe therapy. And there's certain things you don't want to always dump on your spouse. And there's times to, yeah, let it all go and hang out on the golf course and talk about, whatever stupid thing you want to talk about. But having that dedicated time, I think it forces you to open up. It's something you're looking forward to, and it just gives you that opportunity to know that if I'm vulnerable here, they are going to support me. They know that that's what we're here for. And we develop that safe space for other people to be vulnerable as well.
Preach.
Amen, man. Yeah, it's cool to. Yeah, it's a co-created space, and there's a lot of willingness among, this group here, and it's cool how everyone uniquely brings, their true selves, right? Like, it's unconditional is the word that kind of came to mind, right? Like, you don't have to put on, it's not, there's nothing performative about it. There's nothing, you don't have to put on your mask, your tough guy mask, or like your, I don't, whatever, fill in the blank. So my heart's filled just hearing you reflect on it the way you are, Andrew, and appreciate you chiming in there too, CJ. So um, speaking of, kind of just the unfolding of life, we're curious where you're headed now, man. Like, there's, again, we've talked about just how gifted you are, and your passion for music and producing, and amongst other things. So curious, yeah, like, what are you looking to create next? What's on your radar?
Yeah. I've been at Sounds True, like you said, 15 years. I was an intern in college, and then it was my first adult and only adult job. So it is, it's scary. It's exciting. I flip flop between those a lot. Um, I think going forward, I do have some support and some help, financially, and so I'm really excited to um, dive in and see where it takes me. One of the things that I have been doing is actually documenting the process of, hey, I've gotten laid off. I'm in this creative industry. I do have a production company. I have done a lot of work on the side over the years. Some years have been much better than others. And it just kind of, if it comes to me, sweet, I'll do it, but never put 100% behind. This is what I do. I need to find clients. I need to close deals, and really focusing on that. So yeah, going forward, that's the plan. Documenting the whole process as much as I can. Networking, and then creating content. I think it was in the bio about just like helping people, turn their visions into creative stories that we can put out in the world, whether it's video or audio or music, and just connecting with people. And I'm really excited, right? Today was a good day. I'm really excited today to dive into that. I actually, with making these videos and documenting the process, people that I haven't spoken to in forever are reaching out. My childhood best friend, that I grew up with since like preschool, I talked to him today on the phone. That's the first time I've talked to him since I think we hung out at Michigan one time. I went down for St. Patrick's Day, and we partied in like 2006. So yeah, he hit me up. Hey, I saw your video, and I'm doing this, and we could really use some help with some video work, and I'd love to chat. And he's got 2 kids. I've got 2 kids. We were best friends for forever. So that was really cool to connect with people like that. I've gotten so many messages over the past couple weeks. I got one more week at Sounds True, and I'm doing just closing out projects, working on demo reels, redoing my website now that, hey, we're going to focus on this full time, and how do I present myself in that way, and what am I going to focus on going forward? So really excited, and excited to keep sharing kind of that journey, because I think I'll connect with a lot of people that either um, creatives, I think, will really connect with it. The struggles of staying really consistent and trying to stay creative and juggling finances and things like that, and wanting to grow their business, and other people that are dealing with transitions between jobs. And it kind of like the men's group, it helps to get it out. Like, I just talk to this camera through Descript, and I might talk for like 10 minutes and go, all right, I got that on my system, delete. All right, let's take another video now that I've got all that out of my system, and let's sparse that down, and get that out. But that's been great to connect with people. I've had so many awesome messages in the last 2 weeks from really old coworkers cheering me on and supporting me and wanting to connect and seeing how they can help. So having that community is going to be awesome going forward. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Well, Pike, you have our full support, in any and every way. And in saying that, as we close out, can you please let any aspiring artists, anybody that wants to know more about what you're doing, follow your journey, any ways to get in touch with you, can you please let our audience know any and every way that they can get more information about you or work with you, collaborate with you?
Yeah. So musically, I go by Pike. That's my last name. 4D 2D is my business. So if you search Pike 4D 2D on the internet, you'll find most of my stuff. Pike42d.com. That's my website. I think that's also probably my TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. You should find me there, Andrew Pike. Yeah, definitely follow me, whatever your favorite social media is. I'm trying to be a little bit everywhere at once, and hit me up, or there's a form on my website to contact me. There's some emails on there. Yeah, let's chat, whatever you need as far as creative, content creation, to get your story out there, from really awesome, helpful podcasts, voiceover work and video and music. I've helped both of you guys with almost all of those. So it's been great to do. And yeah, I'd love to connect with anybody who needs help.
Hell yeah. Yeah, something you kind of touched on even in your last answer, and it's top of mind again. You've got the central question right there on your note. And one of the key parts of the central question is create. Right. And by you even taking the time to create this video, to put it out there, to talk about your journey in a vulnerable and open way, that created a connection to a childhood friend, and it's creating opportunities for you. So I work with so many people who are like, what should I do next? What should I do next? And like this inspired action. I think CJ and I talked about, switching out the acronym of AI on one show for authentic inspiration. Right? You're authentically inspiring people because you're coming from an authentic place and just sharing what's going on, and that's creation, right? So I just want to support you, like CJ said, and we're obviously huge fans, and our hearts couldn't be more grateful for you making this show possible, man. Like, you're a critical piece of it, and your ideas behind the closed doors, if you will, or behind the scenes, and you've really helped shape this as well. So we're grateful for you, man. So grateful, and cheering you on in all roles that matter to you, brother. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, Pike.
Much love. Thank you for joining us today on the Practicing People's podcast. We hope you found our conversation inspiring and thought-provoking. We appreciate your support and passion for personal growth and self-improvement.
To help build the Practicing People's community, please follow us on Instagram at Practicing People's Podcast for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and engaging discussions. Liking and sharing our posts will spread the word about the podcast to others who can benefit from these conversations. You can also reach out to us at our website, www.practicingpeoples.com, for more materials and ways to tap into the community.
Leaving a rating and review on your preferred podcast platform is a valuable way to support us and help potential listeners discover our show.
Remember, personal growth is a journey we embark on together. Let's build a community where we uplift and inspire one another to achieve our true potential.
Thank you for being part of the Practicing People's podcast family. And until next time, keep practicing and keep growing.